Hey guys, here is your Thursday vocab. We are going to talk about 4 words today that are going to help us out. The first one we're going to talk about is variation. And you probably heard of variation or variety before. So variation, specifically genetic variation is what we're going to be talking about, is the differences between individuals within a species. Okay, so if you think about variety, there's lots of different varieties of things. So think of like ice cream flavors have a lot of different variety, a lot of different kinds. They look different, they contain different things, they taste different. Okay, so each one is different within its species of ice cream. Another variety would be like flowers. Okay, flowers all have the same parts, but they all look different. They have different petal sizes and shapes. They have different colors. They have different leaf shapes and sizes. Okay, so what did I say? Ice cream, flowers. You could also say stuff like hair color. So if you notice, there's lots of different hair colors, and you can either have like blonde, brown, black, or red, and you can also have like my hair color is currently brown and blonde. Okay, so there's a lot of different variety of things like hair color, eye color, things like that. So genetic variation is basically how one species looks different from each other. They don't all look completely identical, so there's a variety. The next word we're going to be talking about is inheritance. An inheritance, or heredity as you can also call it, is the passing of traits from parent to offspring. Okay, and inheritance or heredity is basically the getting of genes or traits from your parents. So from one parent you get half of your genes, from the other parent you get half of the genes. So you're 50-50. Even though some traits may show up a lot more from like your mom or your dad, you still have 50-50. Like I really look like my dad. If you would put a picture of us together, we look very similar, whereas my sister does not look like my dad. She looks more like my mom. So you get your genes from both parents 50-50, but you do not necessarily look like one or the other, or a strict mixture of both. So you get half of your genes from one parent and half from the other. Okay, so it's kind of this 50-50 split. Okay. So that is variation and inheritance or heredity. The next 2 words we're going to be talking about are genotype and phenotype. Okay, and a genotype is an individual's collection of genes, and each person has 2 alleles that will code or represent one gene. Okay, so an example I'm going to show you down here. So genotypes are going to be made up of alleles, which we're really going to talk about on Friday. But alleles are these letter combinations that you see here. So genotype is the actual letters. And so if I would look at this cow or this one, if I didn't have these letters here, I wouldn't know its genotype. I wouldn't be able to see these 2 letters or these 2 letters just by looking at the cows. But when we do have these, we are seeing what's called the genotype. So the genotype is going to be the letters, okay, or the alleles. And you can have several different allele combinations. So for each gene, there is 3 different possible allele combinations. And we'll really talk about that more tomorrow. The next word is going to be phenotype. And to remember this word, I think of phenotype, physical characteristics. Okay, they both start with PH. So phenotypes are going to be genes that you can see. Okay, or observable characteristics. All right, so if we're looking at this picture of the cow again, we can see that it has horns and this one doesn't. So that's the phenotype. So seeing the actual thing and not seeing the genotype, but we can see the phenotype. Like if you were to look at me, you'd be able to see that I have brown hair and brown eyes. Those are my phenotypes. It doesn't necessarily mean they're my genotypes. Okay, but they are my phenotypes. You're seeing those. It does not show you the letters. You can't look at me and see that I have certain letter combinations. This picture also does a pretty good job of explaining phenotype is over here, so it's things that we can see. So we can see the purple flower. We can see the fruit fly has red eyes. We can see the mouse has white fur. Okay, so those are phenotypes. Genotypes are going to have to do with like our DNA. And these alleles that we're talking about are found like within our chromosomes, which are these X's. Okay, so genotype is the letters. Phenotype is genes that we can see, things that we can see. Okay, so the genotype here for this cow is we have horns versus no horns. So these 2 little P's represents horns, and these 2 big P's represent no horns. So those are the genotypes, and then the phenotypes, we can see it's horns versus no horns.